The Three Stooges are widely regarded as one of the greatest comedy teams of all time. A historic 50-year run that helped set the precedent of comedy with both physical and slapstick elements. In this video, we're going to rank all 6 men that were Stooges and rank them from best to worst. In the 50 years they were together, only 2 of the 6 Stooges appeared in every single short, that being Moe Howard and Larry Fine. These rankings will not be a slight at anybody, it's just my opinion. If you ask any Stooge fan who was the least popular Stooge or who was the worst Stooge, odds are you're probably going to get met with Curly Joe Dorita. Curly Joe was the last to be named a Stooge, he was the last Stooge to pass away, but he just was not a very good Stooge at all. Before he became a Stooge, Joe Dorita was an accomplished actor in the shorts department for Columbia. Despite Joe's success in the shorts department, he did not like doing the shorts that made him famous. He did not like slapstick comedy, he was more of a burlesque comedy kind of guy. From the beginning, you can just tell he was not a very good Stooge. He even tried cutting his hair to resemble Curly Howard, it just did not work. I won't talk heavily about the rumor that Joe Dorita badmouthed the Stooges until he passed away. I have no idea if he did or not. But the combination of the Stooges getting older and nearing the end, plus Joe Dorita's past comments about not liking slapstick comedy and being essentially a Curly ripoff, leads many to believe he is probably the worst Stooge of all time. Undoubtedly a good actor, just not a good Stooge. The next selection, as obvious it may be, it pains me to say it because by all accounts a wonderful human being he was, Joe Besser. Much like Joe Dorita, Joe Besser was accomplished before the Three Stooges as he was a successful comedian. Joe Besser, with all due respect, was essentially the sissy of the Stooges. Joe Besser gets a lot of slack because he wasn't as funny as Shemp or not as memorable as Curly, but in his brief time as a Stooge and as the shortest tenured Stooge, I think he served his time well. But being that shortest tenured Stooge and having to be the new guy after Curly and Shemp passed away hampered him big time. Still a fantastic comedian nonetheless, and he always spoke very highly of the Stooges, and he was always very appreciative of the opportunity he was afforded. This is where it really gets tough, having to rank the 3 Howard brothers and Larry. Not to any fault of his own, but in 4th, I'm gonna have Shemp. Shemp was fantastic as a Stooge, the second official Stooge, only behind his little brother Moe Howard. Even before he branched out to pursue a solo career, Shemp was great with the Stooges, the chemistry was always there, and it was even better when he came back after Curly passed away. Shemp was very underrated as an actor, he just always got some slack because he wasn't Curly, but whatever he did, whether solo or with the Stooges, he was fantastic at it. Shemp had a very successful solo career of about 15 years before rejoining the Stooges in the late 40s after his younger brother Curly had gotten really sick, and he remained a Stooge for a good 7 to 8 years before his untimely passing at the age of 60. It's okay to prefer Curly over Shemp, I feel like most do, but Shemp was so underrated, so important to that team for both of his tenures. Now we get to the most recognizable lineup of the Three Stooges. How are we going to rank the iconic 3-piece of Larry, Moe, and Curly? This was so difficult because I love him so much, but the perfect middleman, Larry Fine, he comes in a 3rd. So loyal to the act Larry was. He jumped on in the beginning when it was Moe, Shemp, and Ted Healy, stayed on until his very last days. Just amazing Larry Fine was. Larry Fine was often the glue that kept the Three Stooges together, his endless sacrifices, his loyalty to them for 50 years, just impossible to think about them without thinking about Larry. Also, by all accounts, one of the nicest people ever that would take time for his fans whenever he could, including when he was really sick and in a wheelchair, a young Bob Saget. Decision time. This is going to be very, very tough, but who comes in runner-up? Who is the second best Stooge of all time to me? Love him to death, but I gotta go Curly Howard as number 2, the second best Stooge of all time. Curly is a lot of things when it comes to the Stooges. He's the most recognizable, he's the funniest, he's the most charismatic. He was so many things to the Stooges. His trademark slogans and catchphrases, his wittiness, the funny noises he would always make. Most people would have him as number 1 on their list, and it's always justifiable. Curly was so impactful that even if you didn't watch the Stooges, you have an idea of what he was and just how funny he actually was. And again, by all accounts, Curly was not like this at all when he wasn't on set. He was quiet, shy, to himself, reserved, but when that camera turned on, he was totally different. Really laid the groundwork for future comedians and actors. He was way ahead of his time. And then there was one, the most important Stooge of all time, the leader of the Stooge, the first original Stooge, the man behind it all, Mr. Moe Howard. Moe's impact can never be understated. He was the biggest reason the Three Stooges were such a massive hit. Not only was Moe the leader on the screen, he was the leader off the screen. When it came to money management, when it came to negotiating deals, Moe was the lead guy for everything. Moe got hurt more than anybody else did. Moe was crazy protective protective of all of his men that he worked with. He took off after the director one time because Larry got hurt for real after the director told him he would not. Even after Curly's premature retirement from show business, Moe made sure that everybody, including himself, would pitch in towards Curly to make sure that he was taken care of. He was just an outstanding human being, Moe was. To go with how hilarious he was on screen, he was equally as fantastic as a leader off the screen. There is no better example of a leader than what Moe Howard was with the Three Stooges. And that's the list. Again, just my opinion. Do not expect everyone to have the same list. Sound off in the comments down below. Let me know who you think is the best Stooge of all time or who your favorite Stooge of all time is. 50 plus years of excellence. These guys were great. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.